at Podcast Movement in DC with legal filmmakers, and we're so excited again to be brought here and given gear and a booth by Black Magic Design. We also are using these incredible Haeleigh Lark mics. Thank you so much to Haeleigh for letting us use those. I am seated here with a brand new friend, Lisette. Hi, what's your last name? Alvarez. Lisette Alvarez. And Lisette came up to the booth a little bit earlier, and I just thought it would be so great to chat with her about her whole show. She has multiple shows, multiple things going on. And she also spoke to me about a cool thing she had to do when she was hiring a casting director. And I thought that would be really great for us to discuss.
100%.
So, Lisette, will you start by introducing yourself, your company, what you do, what you create?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, I'm Lisette Alvarez. I run Stormfire Productions, which is a podcasting production company, but we specialize in fiction podcasts, primarily stories that bring people in touch with the magic and mystery of the world. So I am really excited to talk about the work that I'm doing and how filmmaking and audio production, especially audio fiction, are really interesting intersections. I'm also very interested.
So excited. So your podcasts are fictional.
Yes.
Except for one we talked about that's going to be happening soon. But how are you finding video podcasting works with that? Because there's a lot more that needs to go into it than just like sitting and chatting.
Exactly. Yeah. So I have a couple of shows, including Tales from the Hearth, which is both a folktale podcast and an interview podcast with other storytellers. One of the things that I learned is making sure that I was taking advantage of the YouTube audience, right? Like, technical difficulties. Hi. We're fading in and out.
This is what happens when you let an actor use. There we go.
This is very important. So, sorry. One of the big things about me realizing the power of video going into podcasting, I've been working in the podcasting arena now since 2017. And over the last couple of years, while I've transitioned from doing audio drama to also expanding into other kind of media, I wanted to make sure I wasn't losing that YouTube audience, right? There's a lot of people who listen to podcasts on YouTube. And whether or not there's actually someone on the screen, there's still a audience. So YouTube's still considered social media, right? So I wanted to kind of make sure I was getting in touch with audiences across many different mediums that could possibly be interested. Yeah. So the other thing that I found is that when it comes to audio drama, there really hasn't been, versus conversations around interview podcasts and documentary podcasts, of having a video component, there really hasn't been a conversation around audio drama. Yeah. So when I was producing a pilot last year for another show called The Ortiz Twins Are Coming Home, so we did the pilot, I wanted to test out how video and film could be incorporated into audio drama storytelling. I've been to Holly Shorts and a couple other film festivals that have talked about, really film and audio drama as separate entities.
Right.
And I think there's actually a possibility for us to use unique techniques to bring forward some visual elements to the audio drama stage. I've seen Audible advertising that does use some like that video. Same thing with like book talk and book publishing. They also use kind of like motion images, right?
Wait, explain.
Yes. So, okay. So a lot of this is actually through advertising, right? So I've been seeing people using stock footage or stock imagery, setting the tone or setting the visual tone for things that are not visual, like books or podcasts, right? And I wanted to incorporate some of those like stock footage and images alongside setting the stage or setting a scene for something that is audio only. Yeah. Ideally not distracting too much from the audio, because it is for me, it is an audio centric or audio first story. Yeah. But using visual means to also convey the scene or the tone or the vibe of a particular story is something that's very interesting to me. And I'm planning for my new shows to incorporate some of those techniques in film to get that, because we are, I mean, like with TikTok and Instagram and Reels and stuff like that and YouTube, and obviously here at this conference, there's a whole bunch of conversations about video and podcasting. So I want to see what that looks like from the audio drama fiction podcasting.
Very cool, very creative, so exciting. Now, I really want to talk about, you told me about things you had to make sure that your casting director, when you hired, was keeping in mind, because your casting director had not cast for voiceover, so there were new things you had to teach. So what are some tips that you have for casting directors now, since you are a pro at knowing what to do? What do they need to keep in mind when they're thinking about casting for a podcast?
Absolutely, for voice specifically. It's interesting. So it's an interesting story how I met my casting director. I did a casting call, and I did a very very kind of like off the cuff casting call on TikTok, and it blew up. I since that, like I had like maybe like 300 views, but this got like over 100,000 views in like a couple of days, and I'm like, what the heck? There's a lot of voice actors on TikTok. If you don't know, if you're either an actor or like interested in casting, you might want to get on TikTok. So one of the things that I found was my casting assistant. She reached out after seeing that TikTok blow up, saying like, you're probably going to need some help with this. This is something I'm very interested in doing and developing my skill set in casting from just film into voice. So some of the things that we talked about is, one, I really do love working with people who are passionate about whatever skill set they're trying to develop. You know, I'm a storyteller. I constantly learning how to do storytelling. For a casting director to want to go beyond just film and visual, like working with actors or finding actors that are just film and going into voice, because I've been working in this space for around since 2018, I wanted to make sure that I was also positioning this role as something that could be useful to her professional development. So one of the things, a couple of the points that I always say is that voice is a very different skill set in acting than it is for like visual acting. And it's also different, I think, too, to keep in mind. And this is something that I noticed with some of the auditions that came through for my show, was a lot of people have, even voice actors have primary experience in animation and video games. So there's still an expectation of a visual element. There's also an expectation of a level of unrealism or cartoonish kind of voices in animation and video games that not necessarily for podcasts or audio drama that's not that you want to actually tone down. There's kind of a, you know, like, right? So there's this spectrum of acting, right? From theater to film to animation to video games. And now into the podcast.
It's
trying to find
style. It's completely different.
So part of what I get my casting director to think about when I sat down with her to talk about, what our plan was, what are the types of voices that we're looking for. One, I gave her some of the voice actors that have been and worked in audio drama that I think really know the medium and show hey, see, this is how this person is acting differently. Their tone, the quality of their voice, the emotions that they convey, the levels of emotions that they convey are different compared to, say, this voice actor that has done video games or this and is very good at video games versus animation versus film or theater.
But who may, because of their training, because of their experience, be not even using their own voice. They're putting something on completely. They're changing their mouth completely to turn it into a cartoonish character.
Exactly.
And that's not particularly what you're looking for.
Not necessarily. There are, of course, always going to be some characters. I love character acting. I love character actors. I love people who can really embody. And I myself have done voiceover work for other podcasts. So I once played a banshee, and that was really fun. I put on. I don't think I can remember to put it up, but it was a very fun role, and it was it was a character role. It was charactery. But that's especially for, I've noticed for audio drama, having a sustained, that kind of sustained intensity for that kind of character. You can't have all your characters doing that, or else it's a little overwhelming. Audio is a very intimate medium in that way.
Yeah, it's right in your ears.
Right in your ears.
That is so cool. So that is a great tip, a great thing to remember.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Okay, so now is the time. We have about 5 minutes. Yeah. Plug your show.
Okay.
Tell me what you got. Tell
Yes.
us everything.
All right. Well,
Give us some synopsis.
I'm very excited. So I am currently working on a multimedia project called Havana Syndrome, which is a spy thriller podcast and alternative reality game. It's about a sister, who has gone AWOL from the CIA after hearing a mysterious sound while on an unauthorized trip to Cuba. This show is premiering in November. However, I'm second generation Cuban American. I was the first person in my family to go back to Cuba in 60 years. And so I decided, as a way to connect with people who may not understand Cuba US relations, to listen to my journey in context, to kind of prep themselves for entering into the world of Havana Syndrome, a world of spies and international intrigue and international travel and different places around the world, different languages, different types of people, right? And that's one of the things that I'm really excited, and I love the medium of audio, is that it gives you more opportunity to explore these places. Whereas video, I love the video medium. I love film. I'm definitely like film and television. I have the Netflix addiction. I love film and television.
Right.
With audio, though, I also really love, and I hope to see more of and hear more of, stories that expand our world a little bit more. People who, I mean, there's ways in which the political can get personal and the personal can get political. But when we have stories of travel in different places, different types of people, this is a kind of magic of storytelling that I like to bring to my work.
There is also that magic that comes with audio because, like you said, it is so intimate. It's possible that people listening to something like this are more willing and feel safer opening their minds a little bit more too. So there's the chance for that sort of thing, kind of like maybe changing someone's mind about something, or like putting them in a space where they feel comfortable thinking differently than they would have been thinking.
Exactly. It's truly world expansive. And that's what I want all my productions really to expand into different worlds, whether it's my podcast, Haeleigh Stormfire's Economical Magic Services, which is about a witch for hire, and it's a urban fantasy, or Tales from the Hearth, where I use tarot card readings in order to create new modern folk tales. It's a
what's the format for that? Is it like an episode, you do a reading and then create a story?
Yes, exactly. I do a reading and create a story.
I can't wait to listen to that.
Yes. And I also actually, within that, I also interview other storytellers. And, talking about storytelling, not just as a career, it's obviously a career and a skill set and a craft, but it's kind of a calling too. We're called in this people who are listening, this is a creative field. You have to be passionate to stay in this. And for me, I love talking to other storytellers across mediums, and that's what Tales from the Hearth is there for. Once Upon a Time in Havana is the documentary series that is currently releasing. About my trip to Cuba. So there's a lot of stuff at the Stormfire Productions house. So if you want to follow us, we're on TikTok at stormfire.audio. We're on Instagram at Stormfire Productions, and you can learn more about us on our website, stormfireproductions.com, or on the new podcast website, HavanaSyndromePodcast.com.
Thank you so much for joining me, Lisette.
Thank you so much for me.
Chat.
Yes, I appreciate it.
Now let's figure out how user-friendly this is, this Black Magic workflow, because what I can do. We're going to the thing. Oh, wait, no, stream is over. That was my own user. Bye, everyone.